Hey everyone, welcome to the cover letter tutorial. A strong cover letter has a solid introduction that hopefully will captivate the interest of your reader. The body of the letter, which is sort of the meat of the letter, which will give them some compelling reasons why they should want to interview you. Ideally, it will not just be a regurgitation of your resume, and also a conclusion. Your goal when you're writing a cover letter is to get an interview. So writing a persuasive cover letter can really tip the scale in your favor, perhaps maybe even explain something that needs to be explained, whether it was a low GPA or maybe it doesn't look like you have related experience, but you can tell that compelling story. So it's also an opportunity to show off that you have strong communication and writing skills. On the other hand, nothing says I don't care or I'm not that interested more than a generic cover letter. A seasoned recruiter will spot that in a second. So when you're writing a cover letter, make sure you customize it to the company. Find out as much as you can about what the job entails, or at least if you can't do that, what the organization is all about or what they value. Ideally, if you talk to current employees and refer to this in your cover letter, it really will show initiative. Make sure you use proper grammar and spelling. When you're emailing a cover letter, make sure that you list the job that you're applying to in the subject line. Oftentimes people will use a email as their cover letter, but they'll also attach the cover letter in a more formal format as well. One thing you want to avoid is rambling. You must get to the point. People are really impatient. They do not want to hear everything you have to write about your qualifications. You want to be really specific and hone in on a couple of things. You don't want to just repeat your resume. You also don't want to talk about how great the opportunity will be for you. They know that. Focus on why hiring you would be great for them. This is what a proper cover letter format looks like. This is a business letter. So it has your return address, the date, the contact information of the person you're writing to. Try to get a contact name. If you're using an opportunity that you saw in Handshake, typically there will be a contact name affiliated with that, and you can go ahead and use that one. If you don't have a contact name, just use Dear Hiring Manager. If you are uncertain about the person's gender, just use their full name instead of a Ms. or a Mr. Then you want to have, basically, you'll have your intro paragraph, 2 paragraphs in the middle. That's where you're going to be selling yourself, and your closing, your conclusion. Paragraph 1, introduce yourself. Paragraph 2, compelling reason number 1, why they should want to meet you with an example. Paragraph 3, compelling reason number 2 with an example. And paragraph 4, thank them and be done with it. Here is an example of an introductory paragraph. And this is a situation where if you've had an opportunity to meet somebody, attend an information session, hear somebody at the organization speak, though, if you saw them at a career fair, those are all good examples of something that you could indicate in the cover letter. That just shows there's some relevance there, that you're applying to this opportunity having learned something about the organization. So this is an example of indicating that you've talked with people at the organization. And that's always a great way to do an intro and a cover letter. It's easy, it doesn't involve being too creative, but it also is a good way to show initiative and that you are sincerely interested. Sometimes people will be a little more creative in the introductory paragraph, as in this particular example where they talk about their love for marketing that started back in 6th grade with a science fair project, and then leading up into what they're doing now related to further expressing their interest in marketing by becoming a research assistant in the marketing department. So they're setting the stage in this intro paragraph for their strong interest in marketing, and then they're applying to this Deloitte Shine internship program, which is a marketing internship. After the intro paragraph, we get into the body of the letter. So that's 2 paragraphs in the middle, ideally 4 to 6 sentences, okay? When you're doing that, what you want to do is take a look at the job description and identify something specific about the company that you can say in the opening paragraph first, okay? And again, that might be someone you connected with, something you read about them. Then you want to pick out 2 things from the description: qualifications, traits, experiences that you can use for examples of why you're qualified. Write out those examples as concise as possible, and then you're going to plug those into the format. So let's say you've decided for your 2 middle paragraphs, based on reading the description and what they're looking for, that you're going to focus in on interpersonal communication skills and analytical skills. Okay, so that's, again, 2 separate ideas, 2 separate paragraphs, succinct with examples. So in this particular case, on interpersonal communication skills, a very generic thing, right? And as is analytical skills, until you give it context, until you provide an example of what you're talking about. And then it comes to light for that person. Oh, okay, I see what they're talking about. And you're providing a really good example that shows that you're not just saying you have those skills, but you actually have done something with those skills. And that's really what you're trying to do here. So in this particular case, the interpersonal communication skills, the writer is talking about their job as an Eagle caller at the Donegan Alumni Center. And then they talk about their ability to raise a lot of money and the nature of the relationships that they've been able to develop with young alumni to people who graduated way before the Vietnam War. So great, really vivid example. This one is where they're talking about their analytical skills, and they're talking specifically about coursework in finance, and then also coupled with an experience that they had at a tech firm where they were able to use some data analytics and problem solving skills. Okay, so again, some concrete examples that really put some teeth into saying that they have those analytical skills. So that's basically the outline that you want to use. Okay, so intro paragraph, grab their attention, identify the position, mention something specific about the company. The reason that's important is when I mentioned earlier about being too generic, very easy to spot. To the actually, in many cases, students forget to change the company name, so they'll be sending a letter addressed to JP Morgan, and then in the body of the letter they'll be talking about Morgan Stanley. That happens a lot, so that's why you want to try and think about how you can be really specific to the company in that cover letter, so you'll avoid that problem. So that's an attention to detail you want to be very careful about. So introduction. Paragraph 2, compelling reason number 1 why they should want to interview you, back it up with an example. Paragraph 3, compelling reason number 2 why they should want to interview you, and back it up with an example, and thank them for their consideration. When I say compelling, I'm not saying it's going to be this life-changing experience that you've had, but rather you're an experience that you're able to provide a good, succinct example for. Just doing that and writing clearly and providing a good example will set your cover letter apart from so many cover letters that they will receive, where people will just ramble on, check off 20 different reasons why they're interested or why they're qualified, but not back them up and make any concrete or compelling arguments. That does not make a strong letter. And then the closing paragraph is going to be the easiest thing you do. Okay, that is where you're just basically thanking them for their time. These are examples where they're saying, I hope to have the opportunity to meet with you in person and talk about my qualifications. Thank you for your consideration. That's the easy part. So you don't have to waste any time in the closing paragraph. That can be 2 lines. You don't need to spend the closing paragraph telling them about your phone number, where you can be reached, because that is all in your resume. So remember that if there's obvious information in your resume, you don't need to repeat it in your cover letter, because that's just a space waster. And for your reference, we have some corresponding handouts here. So there is a sample of this handout under introductions, gives you some creative introductions you can use for examples. Document number 2 is a cover letter checklist and a template you can use. And then we've got a couple samples here for you to make it, just to give you an idea of what constitutes a good cover letter. Okay, so I hope that that was helpful, and I wish you all the luck in writing this out. I think it'll go really well. Just pay attention to what you're doing, double check it, have some people read it for you to make sure you didn't make any typos, and you should be good to go.